right, man. Good to be sitting down with you. What's up?
You too. Whew. Just
ate a big meal, right? That was the.
Yeah, just got back from a weird brunch.
Well, how's that? Because you said you were up in Chicago. So what?
Yeah, they put us in a pod. We were inside of a pod with
a pod lunch,
a few
huh?
other people. Yeah, it was like Fire in the Sky. Have you seen the movie Fire in the Sky?
No, there's a John Butler Trio song called "Fire in the Sky" I like a lot, but that's the only reference I really have for it.
Oh, well, this is Fire in the Sky is about UFOs. It's about an actual thing that happened in either Oregon or Washington. This guy, they were loggers, and they went out to this site they were leaving a site really early in the morning, and they saw, like a sort of red thing in the sky, and they were like, "What the fuck?" So they drove up, and then one of the workers got out, and started walking towards this sort of beam of red light they saw, and he got abducted by a UFO, and the other guys who were with him witnessed this whole thing, and it really happened.
Where do you watch that on? Is it
Fire in the Sky is a Hollywood produced movie about that incident.
I gotcha.
So you can watch it wherever. I think I actually watched it a couple years ago on Hulu or whatever.
I'll have to look into it.
One of those. You can type in Fire in the Sky and maybe Sling. I feel like Sling would have it.
All right.
But yeah, then I recently did research about the actual guy.
How'd that does he seem like a crazy person, or does he seem like pretty normal?
No, I think he got abducted by aliens, man.
Well, if he wasn't crazy before, I'm sure the aftermath of that would ensue some wild craziness.
Yeah, there's definitely in Massachusetts on the first the new reboot of Unsolved Mysteries.
I actually watched this episode. My girlfriend made me watch it, and it was definitely seemed pretty crazy how it was all connected.
Yeah, the fact that these people recognized each other from not because they grew up 5 miles from each other, but they had never seen each other before, but then they could recognize each other around town because they had been on this spacecraft together. That's fucked up.
There's a lot of weird coincidences in that seem a little bit too much to be coincidences, I think. But I don't know. It's hard to say one way or the other. I try not to dig my feet in about anything, but I don't know.
I feel I'm getting the sense that maybe you don't believe it a little bit, though.
I don't not believe it. I mean,
yeah.
I try not to feel too strongly about anything. My opinion can be swayed, and I'm not try not to think I'm right too much, because
I mean, I've been wrong too many times.
Yeah, for sure. So how's the playing going? Have you had any shows or?
We just did the Rockefeller, Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
So that was cool. It was distanced, so there's nobody there.
What? I don't even know what event was this?
No, I'm just kidding. I did not play the Madison Square Garden.
All right. Well, that would have been awesome if you did, I guess. But but I go ahead. So you haven't played a show in a while?
No, other than I had the opportunity to do a couple live stream things. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can
Tyler?
hear you perfectly. Can you hear me?
Good. Yeah, just want to make sure.
Yeah. But yeah, so no shows. I've always been pretty impressed with the amount of content you put out there. Seems like you're always doing something, so I'm sure you're got a lot of extra time to be putting music out, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of projects because it's really the only thing I've been able to do.
Right. Yeah. So, is Chicago pretty much just not even a chance of doing show? Because, I mean, I've had a couple shows here and there, but...
Yeah, you can... I mean, I've talked to people who've played shows out here. There's a place called Fitzgerald's that has a patio. They were doing shows all summer. Yeah, you just basically had to find a place outside.
Outside, but that's all
Any
about
sort of patio.
that's all about the
Pretty much are private engagements. I know people played weddings still and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was supposed to play a wedding, and then with the COVID stuff, just they completely ended up and canceled it. So they postponed
Yeah.
it twice and then canceled. So that's
Yeah, I'm getting married actually in
you are
September. So
congratulations. That's awesome.
thank you.
And
Yeah.
are
So
you doing that in Chicago? Or are you doing that anywhere exciting?
actually, we're doing it in Jamaica, Ocho Rios, Jamaica.
Awesome. Well, that sounds like that'll be
Yeah,
fun.
my fiance is half Jamaican, but they don't play that over there. If you're like 25% Jamaican, you're just like you're Jamaican.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
They don't pay
So,
attention to that.
but it just it'll be nice because she has so many, Jamaican people. They are all over the world. Like there's lots of Jamaican people in like London, Toronto, New York. Those are like big hubs.
Mm-hmm.
And Renee, she has families. She has family in all those cities. So the easiest thing for everybody to do actually ended up being
Just go to Jamaica.
to have a wedding in Jamaica.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you ever been there before?
Yeah. We went. Yeah, I was like 8 or 9.
Oh, okay. So now
We went on a cruise.
I gotcha.
Me and my parents, and my brother, my family. Short way to say it. And
Was it just like one stop, real quick, or were you there?
yeah. Like, we were there for like 4 hours, and I think my parents got scared, and we like they said like on the boat, like, hey, don't when you get off the boat, don't just like go with the first person that comes up to you or whatever.
Right.
And that's what we did. And we ran around with this guy named Patrick for a few hours or whatever, but he took us into the jungle and everything. Like there's no
And then
tourists
time
around at all.
It was time to turn it around, huh?
I mean, I wasn't getting any. I wasn't smart enough.
Yeah,
at
I was
that.
gonna say
like
you were
8 or
8,
9.
so you wouldn't probably think of that.
So I remember the tour guide. He was like, "Yeah, we were going back to the boat," and he's like, "Yeah, we'll take you to the. I'm gonna go to the sugarcane fields and show you the sugarcane." And I got all excited because you can chew on it and eat it, which I now got the pleasure of experiencing
Nice.
because I'm dating someone from Jamaica. But
And it sounds like you'll be back in those fields here soon. You'll probably get shown one in person, right?
yeah, man, I'm going back.
That'll be fun.
But like, at the time, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get to try the sugar cane," and I got all excited, and my parents were like, "We're going
gotta
back
go."
to the boat.
Makes
We got
sense.
the midnight buffet tonight. You chill the fuck out."
Yeah, I don't know. I've never even thought about really going on a cruise. I thought about playing on one. I don't really know if that would be.
Oh man, well, we can talk about that because I've never done it, but I've known, through my travels, I've met a lot of musicians,
And
I've known people that have done the. You met people who have done the cruise ship thing, right?
maybe one or two, but I mean, I
Yeah.
never really gotten any sort of conversation with them about it. But
I hear it's hell.
yeah, that's but it's supposed to pay pretty good, I think, ultimately, and you're not having to.
I mean, probably for a musician, it pays good, but it probably you probably get like what a teacher would make or something like that, right?
Yeah, but you're
Which is
not
like
paying.
you're still getting.
Because it's usually like months and months, so or like.
You have a place to live too. That's
Yeah, that's the other thing I was gonna say is you wouldn't have to pay for room and board and food and stuff like that. So all that money kind of, even though it might be a little bit less than a teacher, still kind of I think comes back to you on the back end a little bit there without having to pay all that extra expense. But I don't know. I'm not crazy enough. I don't think.
No, I don't think I am either, and I'm pretty fucking crazy. But like, I hear it's hard to like not get wrapped up into whatever reality show esque drama
Yeah,
unfolds.
I would imagine there'd be a lot of
there.
that.
Yeah.
Just dealing with the same people for however long every day.
But let's
them.
make a deal right now that if one of us ever goes on has to play on a cruise or something, we'll try and rope the other person.
All right,
into it.
I'm into it. It works for me.
Right.
I think I just got some rabbit hole one night and I was like looking down like what all it would take to do it. I don't even know if I would qualify, honestly. I don't know if I'm I could play a lot of covers. I think that's what you'd need to be able to do. I don't
I
know.
think you'd be solid because anything that you'd need to learn, like you'd probably it'd be like oh fuck, you don't know Summer Lovin' from the Grease soundtrack, and then you're like, oh damn, you're not gonna be up all night figuring that one out. I don't think. You know what
Well,
I
I'm
mean?
not today, but if I was on a boat, I might spend a little.
You're on a boat with no
Yeah, I might
resources.
end up and learn some Summer Lovin', but I'd come back with
Hey man, bad news. We don't have internet, so
just do it from the records like the olden days.
the olden days.
Yeah,
I love that.
where
I love that term, olden days.
just the aesthetic of the words together, or just
Yeah, yeah. Old. I think olden, just olden. Like what is
it
that?
sounds like
Olden?
something from like Thor and what's the blanking on it, the Marvel
I see
movie,
what you're getting at.
like what Odin's son. That's what they say in the Thor comic books. Odin's son. I think he's the some sort of god, but I don't know. So
I'll check that out.
you're not a big comic book guy?
Let's see. I had a stint in 1992. I got into comics because actually comics were like in the early 90s. If you went with your mom to the grocery store and you like waited in line, at the end, the little cashier area, where they had
The
like
candy,
the tabloids,
the
they had comics.
candy and comics. That's what the kids
And
want
the
on the
first
way
comic
out.
that popped out to me was The Death of Superman.
So DC guy, huh?
Because I was like, holy fuck, Superman's. Do you know the comic book cover where it has a flagpole and it has Superman's cape? It's all ripped up on the flagpole. Have you seen that?
I haven't.
Well, that's the one that like drew me into the world of comics, and I did collect comics for probably a summer.
I gotcha. You got in and got out real fast, huh?
Yeah, my brother has them. My brother has all of them.
Well,
My brother kept everything.
maybe they're worth hundreds and hundreds of dollars now.
We paid, I think, $3 for one comic. So, yeah, it's probably worth like
7.
the Superman died comic. We should. I could look it up right now. Actually, I wish we were like the Joe Rogan podcast and we can tell some fucking kid to be like, "Hey, look this up."
The young Jamie to
Jamie, yeah, that's his name. Hey, Jamie, bring that up real quick.
Yeah, I'm not.
I got this mic though. At the very least, this is the same mic that they use on that
Oh,
one,
nice.
and a lot of other ones.
Yeah, I've seen that mic a lot. What is that one?
That's a SB. Well, I'm probably saying it wrong. It says it right on it. I think it's SB SM7 SM7B.
One of the guys, Dave Matthews, he does a lot of streaming in this quarantine thing, and he's always using a mic that looks like almost exactly like that.
Yeah,
always-
it's probably the same mic.
It always
it's
sounds
the Michael
good.
Jackson bad mic. It's like $400. It
So is that what you do a majority of your recording with?
Yeah, now especially with vocals because it like really it captures it catches a lot of the low frequency, which is important with like a vocal track. So you hear vocals and especially with tenors and then anything that's higher than that, like you hear like people want to mess with their EQs and get those highs sounding good, but like there's so much low register frequencies that are important to like a good vocal track. That's what I like discovered just from talking to a lot of engineers, and then finding out that this mic here has like a really good low frequency response, and then it does a good job of like if you got a washing machine in the other room.
Oh, it won't pick it up.
It does, but it's like really. It really captures like this area right here,
Yeah.
and then everything else is pretty dead. But
Yeah,
it's still a microphone.
I find myself a lot because I have a lower voice, I think. So I'm always trying to filter that low out to make it sound less muddy. It seems like, but
Yeah, I had an engineer give me a tip one time as to like kind of focus on the like hone in on it rather than try to get rid of it.
Right.
And I've noticed a difference in mixes, but then I've also seen what you're talking about too. Is like, okay, well maybe I gotta bring down those frequencies in other instruments now because it's gonna get muddy
In that
you know?
low end. I gotcha. I was on the way home from work yesterday, and I was like, we're doing this podcast, so I threw on the Mathien Pandora. I was like, to get prepped. First
Yeah.
song
So
First song came on as my favorite one from the olden days.
yeah.
Let Us Head. It's like one of my all-time faves, I think.
Have you heard the original, like the demo version that I did in my dorm of that?
I don't know. I think it was the one that you released on the album. I don't think it was the other one.
Yeah. Yeah, that song. The original version never came out on a record, so most people are familiar with like the rock band type production.
Was it more funky or something?
It was definitely more. It was more acoustic. It was like acoustic, and it had like almost like a rap beat, like one of those type of beats.
I gotcha. Yeah,
And
I like the rock version, but you guys always rock that one out. It was a lot of times your last song, I think, when we used to play with you.
well, what ended up happening was I recorded the original version I recorded, in my parents' house or whatever, and then when I attempted to sort of I don't know what's the word, foire.
I don't know. I'm not
When
familiar.
I wanted to wanted to segue that song into like a live setting, it just became like an AC/DC type, rock riff.
I definitely feel there's just it's like kind of weird because it's a little bit slow for a normal rock song, but it like has this sway to it that is really like I remember just being in the audience and like swaying back and forth, like the beat of it. I don't know, for being like a not super high tempoed rock song, it still rocked really hard.
Yeah. It was actually like polyrhythmically too. It's like it sounds so simple,
Right.
but like playing it and singing it is kind of hard. And then for some reason teaching it, like showing someone else the riff and trying to get them to like bass players always had a hard time with it for one reason or another. Not Schiff, but
Yeah.
but a lot of other bass players I've worked with, just because sometimes I'd have to do a gig
And just grab
up
somebody.
here. Someone would hire me for a gig, and then I'd have to just like find a bass player real quick.
Yeah.
And for one reason or another, that song is like tough.
Well,
And
every time you guys played it when we would play with you, that was maybe my favorite song, I think. And it was always a good, I feel like, closer because you guys would go hard. I remember Peter Cottontail in the background just yelling, "Let Us Head!" Like, I don't know, it's just one memory that you guys all kind of rocking to the beat and him just yelling in the back. And, oh, man, that was a good tune. But I listened to a few others. They what's the one that's like this town is gloomy, where you say gloomy a lot?
that's that. I wrote that about
Bloomington, and
Illinois.
it was super gloomy this morning, so it made me rethink of hearing that song last night because I remember at one of the shows you saying that it was about Bloomington, and then it was like super gross today. It's been like super like cloudy and gloomy.
That's how it was out here too.
Yeah. But that one definitely rang, definitely popped in my mind a couple times, and then
And the lyric, not to be corrective, but the lyric is "This town is blooming."
Blooming. Okay, I thought it was
as in
glooming.
blooming, as in a blooming town.
Right.
As in Bloomington.
I got you.
Yeah.
That makes way more sense.
That's why I wrote it that way.
Makes more sense, but
This town is blooming into something I've never seen before.
All right. And
that's about that song was essentially about this party we went to on Halloween, I think.
Those are usually some fun times. Were you playing or were you just at a party?
We played, but the song was written about everything that happened after we played. We played at Fat Jack's. You guys probably played the show with us.
Could be. There was a lot of those Fat Jack shows.
Yeah, and then we went out and got all crazy and partied in Bloomington. And we were from, we were Southern Illinois guys, but, we were in school. Everyone was saying how our school was the big party school, and we had the best Halloween party, and then we went and partied in Bloomington, and I was like,
Yeah, but you were being a
nah.
rock star and partying. That's probably different than, and being somewhere else. What's your computer doing back there? Is that what it's supposed to look like?
What's it doing?
I don't know.
Is it changing colors?
Yeah. I just hope it's still recording.
That's just lights. I got lights. I got LED lights.
Well, your computer
They're changing
screen
colors.
back there, isn't that?
They go black?
Yeah, I just was hoping it was still.
Yeah, it's just my
screensaver.
screensaver.
All right, I was just hoping it was
There.
still recording.
There you go.
We're doing this a little.
Yeah, it's still recording.
That
yes.
was the main thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those shows were all a lot of fun. I feel very privileged to be a part of them. And then we recorded at the Pressure Point Studio, and that's where you guys had the was it a record deal, or what was the full story on that?
It was so it was a production deal and a publishing deal, and it was between me and Pressure. It wasn't really Pressure Point. It was called Midwest Music Group.
I gotcha.
And yeah, so I was the only one that was signed. The rest of the guys in the band, they didn't have any ink or paper, which was like, it sort of protected them in a way, but also made the situation really sort of stressful.
I could see that. Them wondering about tomorrow a little bit. If the wind changed or something, maybe you wouldn't want to play with them anymore or something. I could see that causing a little bit of drama, maybe.
No, like that kind of thing. Like it was more so like there wasn't really a budget to have a band, and then they were putting pressure on me to like sort of manage the band, and then that like wasn't my style. I wasn't like they sort of wanted to.
You wanted to be the player, right?
Like like these guys were just like work for hire, like hired guns or whatever, and then I had to have this like James Brown, you either do it or you don't mentality, which definitely like I feel bad because like I think I sort of like took on some characteristics that were a little more like domineering and.
Well, I think being in the front man of a band, you're gonna have that one way or another, and there's gonna be a weird spot. I mean, me and Blair kind of both. Even though Blair was, sang about half the songs, I think I still was more the leader, as far as like setting up shows and, I don't know. There are elements to that bring out some not so great, maybe not all the time. I mean, it's you got to have one person like that in your band, or else it's not.
Yeah, I just wish I had the ability personally to like sort of own it and just be grounded in it and not be such a. I just wish. Well, I mean, I can't say that 100% because like, on one hand, I wish I was more sensitive and I just like. Was really like listened to what everybody needed and wanted, and then on the other hand I do want to like assert myself and get what I want too.
Yeah it's a balancing act to a point, I think. You have to you have to try to please everybody and yourself at the same time, and everybody's not really aligned with that necessarily. They just kind of want it to be good for them, I feel like, and then it's still to this day. I mean, even the band, I don't even know if you call what I do a band anymore necessarily, because it's always a different lineup. And I think you're kind of the same way. Don't you usually play with a bunch of different guys?
I think I feel really good about how I handle things now. I just wish, when I was 23, 24 years old and I got out of college and, some people wanted to sign a deal with me or whatever, I wish I would have understood what that meant for everybody else who's going to be involved in it.
Can you elaborate on that a little more? What do you mean?
Oh, like for instance, Schiff and Aaron, they left school because they had faith in what I was doing, but I think they had faith in the music, and That's like really, that's pretty serious. Like,
Definitely.
and then like when I was in, when I started Mathien, it was a recording project. I started Mathien out of my parents' living room, just like recording songs that I wanted to hear, and I put them on the internet. And then when I got down to school, basically someone was like, "Hey, you should play this live," and then they sort of set it up for me. This guy Nick, actually, he set up. He's like, "Hey, I got the music building for Saturday at 10 a.m." And I walked into this room, and like there was a band ready to play the Mathien stuff.
Wow.
And so I had to like learn how to become a leader, like in that moment.
Was it those same
just,
guys? Was it Schiff and?
It was no, it was completely different people.
I gotcha.
Yeah, Schiff was like the first. Schiff is like the most permanent member of the group.
One of the staples. He was
with. What'd you say?
One of the staples.
Well, he just like joined the group in 2007, around then, and he stayed till like 2013. So he's with me for 6 years.
It's awesome.
And yeah, so he's like, he saw a lot, I guess, but like, like even upon the first inception of the backing band, I was a music student at SIU, and like I had a bad reputation because like, teachers were coming up to me in the halls and stuff, and they'd be like, "Hey, you pulled Jake out of his choir performance."
So,
and I was like, I didn't.
For your band, they would not go to the choir performance, so they could perform with you. Is that what you're
so
saying?
we would, we had a show in Peoria or wherever it was that weekend, and then I didn't know he had a fucking choir.
How would you? You wouldn't know everybody's schedule,
right? He wasn't, because definitely like these guys, they weren't like, "Oh man, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna miss my choir performance."
Well, they obviously wanted.
So it wasn't like that.
If they were gonna miss it,
like,
I mean, they wanted to be with you. It sounds like they were making that choice.
Yes, of course, but like immediately you have the situation becomes a little more complicated, because it's not just, oh, this is what these guys are doing. It's like, no. It's not like I'm Adam Levine and I'm like, "Hey, pack your stuff. You're going to get $50,000 to come and play these shows for me." No, it was like, you're going to get drunk for free at this weird bar that's run by a white supremacist.
I would say that is a very accurate depiction of what playing music is like.
Yeah, because you never know what you're gonna run into, and that's with like Big Boys BBQing was the first place we were playing at, and it was the guy that booked us there. He was like a nice guy, I guess, but he seemed like sort of like creepy. And then the guy he hired to like watch over, like the bar manager, I guess you would call him. He was like he's like an ex-con. He was on the sex offenders list.
Yikes.
And he was saying, he was saying like some racist stuff to my band, like joking around and stuff,
Yeah.
like jokes, like fun racist jokes. And I, to my credit, I had the fucking balls at 18 years old to like go up to the next gig we played. I went up to him and I was like, "Hey, I got a keyboardist. I don't know how he's gonna feel about your jokes. So can you please chill out on that shit?" And he looked me in the eye and he was like, "Hey man, I'm from prison. I got fucking 100 white boys that'll pull up on this guy at any moment." And he's like, I'll he said, I got a 38 in the kitchen. I'll fucking blast him. He's saying stuff like that. And then like, you're like 18 years old and you're playing at a club. You're like, "Oh, okay." Like, I guess I better
should we go
just play this gig.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like a lot of that stuff probably happened, but I was just so blissfully unaware that I was so focused on the gig that I just like missed it. You know what I mean? Like I was so in my own head that like I don't even know. I just ended up just pushing forward always and not. I never remembered the person's name. You know, I can't. From those early years, the memory just like I could remember like the performances, but I can't remember the people at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember a lot of about. That's interesting you say that because I think a lot of gigs I remember everything else except the actual
Performance.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of.
Because it's just
Go ahead.
just being in those scenarios is weird. Any sort of like what I just talked about. Like there's no sort of situation I would have, even thought of being a part of.
Yeah.
I just wanted to sing some songs, and the next thing you know, you're talking to a fucking possible serial killer or some shit. And he's paying you,
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild.
Whoa.
But I don't know. I feel like my mentality is always like, and it still is to this day. I have a little bit of trouble getting out of like, okay, the gig's tonight, but my whole day revolves around getting ready for the gig, and then like,
Yeah.
Getting mentally prepared, getting the sound specifications, and then, even throughout the gig, I'm like trying to make it sound better, and I'm so just like that I forget that like it's supposed to. I don't know. It's more of a collection.
You're supposed to create a moment.
Yeah. Not
That's
be
like
in
a
the
big
moment.
part of it.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, but I feel you, and I've seen that when we've played gigs like that. You're 100% just concerned with, what's the pedal board doing? Are the cables all
right?
Is everything good?
Well, those shows were always a little nuts though, because we were trying to throw them together at Fat Jack's with like this weird janky sound system, and
it was a mess.
There were several messes, but yeah, I don't know. By the time you guys played, I feel like it was all good most of the time. Like you,
Is it? That's the shitty part about being the first band to play.
Well, I mean, but part of that is my own mental, like because I'm so like transfixed on the moment of performing and the everything going well and being prepared, and then like that part's over because we already had our set, so now I can just have a good time, And not that I didn't have a good. There were definitely times where I had awesome times performing in those shows as well. But like there's a relief that comes after a set. I feel like where you're like I did it.
I feel like you can't like I never was able to 100% enjoy myself if I was playing a show because it would be like even afterwards like all the cool glamorous stuff that people thought would go into like playing music, like when there's cute girls and people with like drinks and whatever, like the whole party mentality.
I still think
like
you were better at that than I was. I mean, I had none of it.
I made space for it.
Yeah.
But the thing is like I always felt like I had a guitar on my back that I had to bring to a rehearsal space after the show, which was the case a lot of the times,
Yeah, but that's a good way to get out of weird situations where you have a racist guy trying to pay you, like talking to a serial killer trying to say he might kill one of your band members.
His name was Mike. He was a scary guy. He had the teardrop.
Oh man, that's like cinematic.
I think that means he killed people.
Cinematic, there.
Yeah. And he was doing this to me. I played a gig one time, and I looked out into the audience, and he had talked to whoever was our manager at the time, and he talked to our manager, and our manager said, yeah, he's not available next week or something because he wanted us to come and play. And he got really, really upset. And, like, I was performing. I didn't know this conversation had even happened. I was performing up there, and I looked out, and he was doing the knife cut, like you're fucking dead, kid. I'm going to fucking kill you. And I remember after that gig, I packed up my shit and just
got out there quick.
I told someone else, like, yo, get the money. I'm going home.
Hopefully it wasn't your keyboard player.
Tonight.
It was your manager.
Well, the thing is that my keyboard player that night, I forgot this guy's name, but he was brought on by through this kid, Jermaine Bollinger, who was our drummer at the time. And I told him, I was like, hey, man, I was like, this guy might say some weird shit to you. He said some weird shit to Jason. it wasn't upsetting because he like sort of like he sort of presented it as like a joke, which is always, you know, like you're being racist, but like this guy was like doing it as like jokes and then trying to like pass them off as jokes. So it did actually make it a little more like for this instance, like the dude was like, yeah, he was just trying to joke around, I guess, so fuck him kind of thing. But, you know, I told this keyboardist, I was like, hey, here's what's happening. This guy might say some weird shit to you. I'm really sorry. I told him blah, 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 blah. And he said, you know, I got guns in the kitchen and blah, blah, blah. And then this kid, he's like, I got guns too, bro. He's like, guns, not a problem.
Not even phase. That's good.
Yeah. And I was like, okay.
But he skipped his recital to come play at this.
This guy was not a student.
I know.
At all. He just lived in Murfreesboro.
It's just
I get
a
what you're
funny
saying.
idea. Like he skipped his recital to come play at this bar where this guy was just going to be racist and threaten him with guns.
Sociopaths.
Just the idea of that.
Yeah, that's the music business, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the climate is different now.
For sure. I still have had weird moments, but with weird fans, and you know, it tends a lot of times to be older fellas, older people say some.
Yeah, when you're touring around Illinois, you always run into some old fucking weird racist people, and you're like, what the hell?
Like, why would you say that? Like, it's easy not to say something that would offend. Well, not 100%. I won't 100% say that because some people get offended very easily. But on this front, I think that it's pretty easy not to say racist things.
Yeah.
Or jokes that are, you know, very racist, but kind of trying to be hidden a little bit with the, you know, the fact that they're, I'm just making funny observations and jokes, you know.
Or like it was more like I'm gonna say these things and see if this person will laugh at it and see if I can sort of push the envelope
right.
to see what I can do next.
How far they can get into it.
Yeah. And I really wish I would have had the balls to be like, no, altogether on this shit. Let's go and play somewhere else. That's really what I should have done.
Yeah. But
you're 18 years old, and someone just gave you $13 to get drunk and play some songs.
It was probably more than $13. Maybe not much more.
Not.
But
dude, I swear to God, it was not.
Was it more than 13? Huh? That's
no, like total end of the night, like they would give you whatever people paid to get in.
Oh, it was a play for the door kind of show. Okay.
Yeah, it was a door deal. And I was like, oh, sure, door deal. That sounds great. Just make a bunch of money at your bar.
And, you know, they probably... I've had a lot of shows where I've been skeptical that they gave me even, you know, 2/3 of what was actually made on the door, on those door deals.
Did you ever count people that walked in?
Nah, I was too worried about the performance, but there's definitely been times where they give me the money at the end of the night, and I'm like... It's a little questionable. Like, it seemed like it was pretty busy here. But... Yeah,
I've actually counted. When we started playing Chicago, we started counting the people that showed up for us because that's how they would do it at the door.
Chicago has always been tough. I don't have any sort of following up there anyway. And the way they do the door a lot of the times is just nuts. Like, they make it... I remember playing some shows, and they would make you say the band you were there to see at the door, and then you would get a portion, not the full amount, but a portion of their cover that they paid, which just seemed ridiculous, wild.
Yeah. And then they lie about it, too, you know? Like, I remember I played at this place called Lily's, and then afterwards, the guy showed me this little clipboard, and he's like, all right, these many people came to see you, and I was like, I was like, I counted. I know all the people that came to see me, dude. I'm not Jason Mraz, okay? Like, that's my mom's friend Nancy right there, okay? But I counted everybody who came.
What happened?
And it was like 30 people, and then he had 17 or something, and he's like, I don't know what you want me to do, and I was like, I want you to take your pen and write, 14 more, whatever the math was. I probably didn't give him the right number because I don't know.
But
I was like, I want you to write some more tally marks on your clipboard for me. And he's like, yeah, I'm not doing that, blah, blah, blah. And then eventually I just got upset and I sent my mom after him. And my mom went and yelled at him. And he coughed up the money
nice.
for real.
All you got to do is sick mom on him, and a lot of times she'll come through. That's funny.
I didn't even tell her to do anything either. I just walked back and sat in a booth all slumped over like, oh no, I'm gonna pay my guys. No. And my mom's like, oh nope.
Not
my
happening.
Mom's from Rogers Park, man.
That's awesome.
Like, I know this. My mom's like, I know this Chicago shit. That doesn't matter to me.
So where are you originally from?
She went, not Chicago at all.
But
I'm from different suburbs in the West.
I gotcha.
Wheaton, Hanover Park, Lake in the Hills. I grew up mostly in Wheaton.
And where's that relative to Chicago?
Oh, it's like 25 miles west of Chicago. If you're familiar with Chicago, if you go to the west side of Chicago, just keep going. You'll get to Wheaton.
I gotcha. Well, I was. So were you always playing music? When did you start playing?
I started playing instruments when I was 5.
Oh, that's young.
Yeah. I started playing piano lessons when I was 5, and I didn't really stick with it in terms of actual music education. I was just I really liked listening to the radio and trying to copy the drum beats. I would go to the drum patches
and just play drums
and do that, and then learn melodies too and everything. But then when I first got a guitar, I could just play the guitar, man. Really.
Well, yeah. I mean, from a spectator, you always look pretty natural, and you definitely can tear one up when the moment is called for.
Just the idea of if you play a C chord, and then you move that shape up 5 frets, and that's a F. And it's the same shape.
Right.
That's what made sense to me. Because if you did that on a piano, you'd have to, this is a black key now, and this is
the half steps.
This is a flat, and this is a, the piano still is really hard for me.
I've seen you play the piano. You can tear up a piano as well. I remember some of those nights after the Fat Jack show, you coming over. I had this old shitty upright that you used to noodle on.
Oh, I actually forgot about that. That was right in your living room, right?
Yeah. And then you played on it. PD played on it. It was a good time. Oh, I think Omar was around maybe at that time, and he would go down. He would stay with us sometimes, and then he would go.
We all stayed over
I know,
there.
but he stayed a few extra days sometimes, and he would go down to the basement and practice. And I remember thinking man, that guy has a killer instinct. He is practicing every morning to a metronome, and he was really, really trying to be a good drummer, and he was succeeding.
He was so fucking good at the drums.
Yeah. Well, that's why though. He had that killer mentality where he was gonna do it. What's he up to now? You talk to him ever?
Oh, he's doing I don't know. He's in finance somehow.
Not what I would have guessed, but I know that
he's doing.
Go ahead.
Oh, I really don't know. I don't know.
And then
I just see Facebook.
Yeah, I saw PD Cottontails. He was doing some cool stuff, right? He did.
Yeah, I see Peter. I wouldn't say regularly, but I've made music with him last couple years. Just done some sessions with him. I played on his record.
That's awesome.
His record that he put out, the gospel album. I played guitar on a lot of those songs.
I'll have to check that out. I haven't heard that one.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean he was great. He was a really good piano player. But I don't.
He's a great personality to have in the group too.
He was definitely very mellow in a good way.
Yeah, and also sort of just joyful too.
Yeah,
he's always happy.
And that's a nice thing to have around. I have that with my current hand percussionist that I play with. He's pretty joyful fella, and he just
Yeah, it's good to inject that into like rehearsals, shows, everything.
yeah. Kev, my
I wish I was that person. The joyful.
oh, it's so funny you say that because I've had that thought so many times. I am
Yeah.
for some reason not, but if I was, would I be able to write songs? I don't know. Would you just write songs about being happy all the time?
I mean, yeah, you could, cause like a lot of great songs are about being happy. I think.
So what
But
what are your influences? What was the music you were growing up trying to play?
oh man, I mean, I went through so many different phases. The first thing I really fell in love with was Green Day.
I think that was me too. That was one of my first ones, but I was a pass me down from my.
Yeah.
I had two older brothers.
And I think as a person who wants to write like good pop hooks and pop songs or whatever, like Green Day is a great band to like put under the microscope because yeah, just the melodies and the like Billy Joe's sort of sensibilities around chord progressions and melodies is he's really good at it.
yeah,
Like he could write for Britney Spears or someone like that, you know.
I mean,
think.
even to this day, I enjoy if a Green Day song comes on, I enjoy it, even if it's something I've never heard before. I feel like there's something kind of good about it. Not like
I like the old Green Day.
me too. That's my preferred.
Kerplunk. Do you ever listen to Kerplunk?
I haven't in a long time, but I mean that's the stuff that I grew up with was that the old stuff, and that's the stuff that I really liked. But I'm saying even when a new Green Day song comes on, I'm like, there's still.
You're like, yeah.
I'm exactly like that. That defines it perfectly. No, I mean I think that he definitely has some sort of I don't know. There's something special about what he does. I mean, all those new songs aren't like my favorite or anything, but I still hear that there's something good about it. You know what I mean?
I walk a lonely road.
That's dead on there.
I got mad, you know.
That's the Wonderwall and the.
Yeah, he stole that from Wonderwall. He did.
Yeah, but
You know, when I was coming up, you know, Green Day, when they started wearing the makeup,
that's when it's all downhill from
that's
here.
when I fell off because I was like, oh, they're trying to be like Good Charlotte or whatever.
Yeah, which I would not equate those two pretty much ever, but I mean, they were trying to keep up maybe with the new punk pop stuff, and
there you go. You know, I watched the VMAs one year. It was the year that Good Charlotte came out, and Good Charlotte came and performed. And after they got done with their performance, Chris Rock was the host, and he came out in the front, and he was like, "Good Charlotte, more like mediocre Green Day."
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. I was like, he nailed it.
Do you think he had that one in the chamber for a while and was just waiting to?
I don't know. He's like Chris Rock's such a good comedian. I feel like he
naturally funny guy.
Maybe improvised it because he probably didn't know what the order of the performances was going to be. You know.
But if you did see the name Good Charlotte and you looked into it like a little bit, you'd be like, oh, they're just.
He had to have had some sort of understanding of the genre.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
To make that statement for sure.
But yeah, so it was Green Day, and then what? What was your next?
Okay, yeah, I could go through the whole. Well, if you really want to get technical, Michael Jackson was first.
Nice. That's a good starter.
Michael Jackson was like, when I was 5, I got into Michael Jackson, and then I got into Green Day around like 3rd, 4th grade. I outgrew Green Day in 6th grade and got really into Korn.
That's quite the jump.
Yeah. Boy! And then by 8th grade, I was a full, like, Funketeers, what they would call it, a P-Funk, George Clinton fan. And that happened because my brother was really into rap, and he was into Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, Ice Cube. And then so I would go and look in his CDs, and I would read the liner notes. And in the liner notes, all of the songs were being, they were sampling George Clinton Parliament Funkadelic songs. So I just started studying what songs they were sampling and then going and finding the albums that the songs were on. And I was buying old repressings of the Funkadelic CDs. And then before you know it, I owned all of the P-Funk, like the whole discography. I knew it all by the time I went to college.
I feel like that's where 8th grade was about, when I really actually had a taste in music. Like that's when my actual taste
that's what happened to me too. Fit. And they say, when you're creating music for clients, like say you're doing a commercial for some company or something, you figure out who owns the company and you figure out what music was out when they were 16.
And that'll grab them.
Which is not 8th grade, but by the time you're 16, you would think that
they're well into the world that they had chosen, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah. So you find out who was the big music at that time, and then you just make something that sounds like that, and they usually go for it.
So do you do a lot of that?
Most of what I just go for, if it's an old.
I'm saying, do you sell music to? I think I've seen something where you were in like a Nike commercial or something like that, or.
Yeah. I've definitely worked with brands, and also just companies. Like sort of doing, like employee. Not training, but like video marketing for corporate companies that do I don't know, startups, everything from startups to big corporations out here in Chicago. I've done something for Pritzker a few years ago.
Nice. People will be very divided on that, I think.
Yeah, I didn't really understand I really was just making music for it and wasn't thinking of anything social or politically behind it.
I don't think anybody
getting paid a lot.
Anybody would have really known who that was back then. I didn't know who he was for sure.
He was already a prevalent, people Chicagoans who are privy to the sort of political happenings out here in the city. They definitely knew that name. The big weird looking pavilion that's in Grant Park, that silvery looking thing. Mm-hmm. That's the Pritzker pavilion. He put that together. But with clients like that, I would just make something that I'm like, oh, here's an old fat rich white dude. I'm gonna make something that sounds like you too.
And you just.
I'm gonna make something that sounds exactly like you too.
And that's what sold it, huh?
And yeah, so it works for stuff like that because anything, before I would get something like I had a client one time that was with a gas company. I won't say who it is, but they wanted to market. They wanted to get more of a diverse. They want to diversify their employees or whatever. And yeah, so I made something that was more modern sounding, and the dude was literally hey, it sounds too cool. Can you make it sound not cool? Make it sound he was make it sound kind of lame. Cause
that's a weird note.
But that's what he was right, unfortunately, because that's what those videos need. They don't need some cool sounding beat in the background that's going to just draw away from their message, which is basically come to our company because we let you work even if you have sleeve tattoos.
Yeah, I got you. So how long have you been doing that? I mean, is that something you're still doing?
Sometimes that's just part of just for me, that's part of existing as an artist, and you're just sort of grabbing onto whatever's flying. There's so much shit flying by us, and then you just are just trying to grab on. It's like whack-a-mole.
Yeah. Well, I think I think.
Oh, this is over here. I'm gonna go over here. Oh, okay. Now this is happening. Let's see what this is. And it's a lot of exploring and discovering, and then getting fucked over, and then and then going over here, and then trying something else.
Yeah, I think that part of that probably comes with. I always feel because you do a lot of like self-producing stuff, right? Where you like record it from start to finish, and you're like kind of the engineer. I always think that I have a tough time doing that myself. I don't know why, but because I have the capability to actually record stuff, but I need somebody there to tell me what to do or like you were saying about that microphone cut, bringing those lows out to like I
Yeah.
need somebody to because I don't know if I just don't have the ear for it, or I just need somebody to confirm what I'm saying is right, if that makes sense. But the fact that you're
Yeah.
able to, do a song from start to finish, and have like the confidence that you don't need anybody else, and it still, I mean, to me, sounds just as good as if you did it at like Pressure Point Studio, maybe better sometimes. I feel like that would be a good way to kind of fall into that type of stuff because you can do it so independently. Whereas most
just having the production skill set has been unbelievably helpful.
and is that
And I think about people who are really suffering from this like COVID thing, especially musicians, where it's like, oh, like I'm a musician, but like I play, something specialized, like saxophone. Like I play the saxophone. That's all I do.
mm-hmm.
So I'm the sax guy, so people call me for the wedding gigs and all that. And now, like the saxophone guy, he might need to learn how to work Ableton or whatever, He might need to learn how to do something else just so he can survive. Because, like, the reality of it is like, like, you're not going to be getting those calls if you can only just do one kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree.
So the more things you can kind of like lean into and get good at, then, like, for instance, like I started doing some of these gigs, and with one client, it was a very big client too. They were like, hey, we got to get this sound designed. Can you do sound design?
What does that even mean?
I just lied. And said, yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely do that.
And then I just like figured out, I put in some fucking explosion sounds if there was whatever it was.
Yeah.
I tried to do my best, and then eventually, like, going back and forth a couple times with notes and stuff, I made it better. And then, now I've done a bunch of sound design gigs because I lied that one time and said I knew how to do it.
Well, I think that takes a certain amount of confidence that maybe I just don't have, but I don't know. I feel...
Well, you should... Hey, man, what's going to happen, though? What's the worst that can happen? Because I think I understand where you're at, or where, like, that... I understand what that is, because, like, I have that, too. And I think it comes from fear of... I think it comes from this sort of, like, thing that's been just, like, pounded into our mentalities of, like you're going to get in trouble somehow.
Right.
You're gonna get in trouble if you lie.
I don't know if that's exactly it. I think that I mean, that is a little bit part of it. And if it was like the stakes were serious or something, which I don't think they are a lot of times with this type of stuff. I mean, the thing will happen is somebody will be like, nah,
you'll never play in this town again, kid.
Yeah, I don't think there's really a lot of that going on. There's just like, I don't like this. I'm gonna hire somebody else. That's like worst case scenario, but
even that sucks, like, just from like that sucks, like losing a gig to someone else, or like.
But I mean, if you lied about getting there in the first place, you're not going to be that surprised when you lose the gig, I think.
right. That's.
But what I'm saying is, I don't know. I guess it sounds like you've come through on a lot of the stuff you've just BS'd a little bit to start with. I don't know. I'm the fear, I think, would come for when
you like couldn't execute it.
And then they're like, well, this fucking guy over here is saying he's a sound designer, doesn't know anything about what, and then he tells, and then you start to get like a bad reputation for being a liar and shitty at the same time. I wouldn't.
Hey man, if that's the case, you might end up being a fucking huge star in the music industry at that point.
I don't know.
Because it seems like being a sociopath gets rewarded somehow.
Oh, I gotcha. I see what you're saying. I don't know. I don't know. Who? I mean, I think that's a lot of the people on the other side of it, isn't it? The more on the production and the
Like the back end.
yeah. It's
I
not
don't
the
know.
the.
There's a
You
lot
think
of
a lot of musicians are sociopaths?
nah. We're like the least. You're right. We're like the least. But I always look at people like, who get caught up in like scandals and stuff like that. And then in that token, I don't know what to think of those either. Sometimes I'm like the whole. Remember Aziz Ansari?
Yeah.
He's not a musician,
Yeah.
but Aziz Ansari went on a bad
Yeah.
date.
That was a tough one to.
That sucked.
Yeah. Yeah. And his special after was pretty interesting. How he kind of addressed it. I guess it seemed like
He was like, "Hey, I did this."
he was pretty laid back. He almost seemed like he was crying, and some like in the very beginning, he had to do like this whole disclaimer about it, which was, I don't know. It's hard to have any sort of opinion about that kind of thing because if you're wrong, you're just an asshole, pretty much.
Yeah, it's
if you
scary.
side with like, oh, it was just a bad date, and you just like say that over and over and over again, you could be right. But if you're wrong, it's much more detrimental. If it was more than that, and you're just going by hearsay ultimately anyway.
Yeah, it's not about right or wrong. It's about how it looks.
Yeah, it's weird.
What does it look like? Yeah.
It's definitely a weird time, but for not just that reason, obviously. I think we're gonna maybe be shut down again, is what it sounded like. Have you gotten that vibe at all? I would imagine it'd be worse up there, right?
I mean, I haven't really, prior to today and doing what I did and being an insane person and going to brunch in a pod in a fucking
It's really
Star
wild,
Trek
really
pod.
wild to take that chance.
Yeah.
You're living dangerously.
Yeah, it does feel that way though. Like I got nervous before I went.
It's so funny
So I told
that you're a guy who is like, toured all over Illinois and like went to all these weird shady places and played music and made money and weird deals but now it's just like, brunch is risky. Like you better watch it.
like, whoa, mimosas? I don't know.
Do we have to leave the house? Yeah. So
Yeah.
it just
Yeah, and that's what I've been noticing. Not to get too personal, but I've been noticing that I get anxious when I leave the house now.
yeah. Well,
I don't like driving anymore.
You don't have to not
Driving
be
scares me.
personal. You can be personal. I don't think that matters. But
Well, I don't want to give out my. I don't want to talk about why I went to the doctor this week or anything, but
well, yeah, we don't. I don't. You can be as personal as. Let's get right into it. Let's only talk about why you went to the doctor for the next few minutes here.
I mean, I could. It's not that interesting.
Right.
I'm okay too. I'm fine. Is what the doctor told me. So.
What have you been doing to fill all the time since you can't even like leave your house? Just make music? Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, I don't really get bored.
But you like that though, right? Like you're.
Yeah, I really enjoy lockdown. And actually I wrote this lyric before COVID even happened because I was downtown one day and I was just sort of I would like take the train downtown with my girlfriend and then I would hug her goodbye and she would go into her office and then I would do some sort of like administrative work for Mathien, maybe send out some records to blogs or whatever it is, trying to get some traction in the industry. But what would happen was sometimes I'd go to someone's house and record. But the point is I was downtown all the time and I was watching everyone honking at each other in their cars. People like walking aggressively and like passing old ladies very aggressively and just like
'Cause they're in a hurry. They gotta get to that place.
A lot of self-importance going around. And I remember having this thought, and the thought was, everybody needs to just fucking stay in their house. I really thought about this, and I was like, man, wherever this guy is going, he could just do whatever he's doing at his house.
So what's the lyric you came up with?
It wasn't really a lyric that I ever put in a song. It was just something
I thought you said you thought of one.
Yeah, I guess it was just I thought about using it in a song and I never did. And the lyric was
Yeah.
everyone just needs to stay inside. And it was for real.
Well,
Like I thought this, and I was like, yeah, that, because it was upsetting to me, all this, like all the hustle and bustle, like, which is sort of why I came to Chicago in the first place. This is because it had this presence and this energy to it, and you kind of had to like be aggressive about your dreams, otherwise you'd like get evicted. And then I ended up growing to like hate it because I was like, this is stupid. What the fuck is everyone doing?
but why don't you just move out of the city then? Wouldn't that be easier than calling for everybody to stay home?
This is just what I thought at that moment in my life.
I know. But you do still live in the city.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Which is another
wouldn't it-
paradox in itself.
Yeah. Well, especially right now, I feel like it'd be extra hard because I mean, I think that it's pretty locked down in Bloomington, but definitely the guidelines are a little bit looser. I just heard a statistic that McLean County, the county I live in, is the third most, the highest county, the third most high. I can't talk. The third highest county in the whole country.
Oof. Well,
I don't know how that's possible.
ISU, man.
I guess.
Same thing with
I
remember
guess.
when they were on the top of the billboards for the STDs?
Yeah.
That was always
yeah,
a big thing out there.
Maybe that's related somehow.
Well, it would
But
make sense because they both involve like personal responsibility,
and
social responsibility,
contact with other people.
and keeping your damn weenie in your pants. Jeez, just fucking.
Is COVID technically an STD? Is the real question. I don't know. Could it be considered? Is that one way to pass it along? I don't know.
I don't. Those days are over for me. I'm good. I'm about to get married.
It's just a question. I'm not saying that.
Hey man, what are you trying to say? I did talk to my one friend who's single, and he was like, "Yeah, man, my."
I wonder what that's like.
I guess they wear masks on their dates.
But I mean, I don't know. I bet there's a lot of video dates.
Oh yeah.
Video.
And
I
then
don't
like
know.
also like if a girl takes her mask off, is it hot like it is when she would take her shirt off back when you're dating?
In a different way.
Yeah, it's like,
yeah, I don't
damn.
know.
Look at her mouth.
I worked with this guy for months and months and months, and then like 3 weeks ago I saw him pull his mask down, and I was like, oh, that's not like I barely recognized him. It was so weird to see him without the mask on. So I guess there would be a little bit of that, right? Like I'll see somebody that I've only seen them in a mask and without one, and I wouldn't even recognize them.
I got a friend who's a comedian, and he was like, yo, what's it gonna be like in 10 years? Our kid's gonna be like, yo, you see your nose? Fucking, she showed me her nose, bro. It was hot.
It's serious. It's serious if they show the nose. That's how you know. That's taking the relationship to the next step for sure. If the nose is involved.
Didn't ankles used to be off limits? Like, didn't
I
ankles?
don't
I
know.
think in the 1800s, like if a chick showed her ankles, like guys would get all like, "Whoa,
Woo.
we got a live one here, buddy."
Yeah, I don't really know.
I like ankle. I mean, I like ankles now, so
You're a big
it's
ankle
not
guy,
weird
huh?
to me.
I gotcha. So, what are your? I had mentioned maybe telling a story about a crazy show story. You got any of those in the can?
I'm glad
Something that-
I briefed you on this because I did think about a lot of the different shows we played. One of my favorite show stories. There's seriously like probably 10. I say there's probably a top 10 somewhere in my head. I'd have to really think. You really got to access stuff that you forgot.
Well, that's the crazy thing. Like, I started doing this podcast and I realized that like I don't organize my memories of shows like at all. Like they all kind of melt together. I can kind of remember like specific instances maybe throughout the night, but if you don't talk about them after,
Yeah.
they do kind of dissipate.
Yeah,
I
it's
think.
really more about recall. But I had just moved to Chicago. I had a manager who set me up with this gig playing a Battle of the Bands contest at a place called Uncle
Yikes.
Fatty's. Uncle Fatty's was like nightmarish Wrigleyville, like Blue Lives Matter crowd, if you will. River
I get you.
River North bro culture, Cubs fans. Nothing wrong with baseball, of course, but like it was definitely like frat boy central, at this bar. And we get there and we start like getting our equipment in there, and then the bar manager comes up to me and he's like, "Hey man, I hear you guys don't play covers." And I was like, "Yeah, we don't really do that. We're an original band." And he goes, "Yeah, well, do you realize that you entered into a cover band Battle of the Bands?" And I was like, "No." And it was actually a faux pas on our manager's part. Our manager at the time just wanted to like give us something to do, I think.
And it doesn't usually it's not hard to get into a lot of Battle of the Bands because not a lot of people, bands past a certain level, don't want to do Battle of the Bands.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a pretty specific demographic. I'm sure you were long past the point of wanting to do a Battle of the Bands, but
I mean,
if I had to guess,
I kind of had a competitive attitude where I was like, "Man, let's go win this thing." And then we get there and it was like a Guns N' Roses 80s metal cover band. It was like it was like hit like wedding band type things,
right?
And then we were the only original band there, and then the guy, they were all nervous, and then the guy came up to me and he was like, "All right," he's like, "You guys, we're going to let you play, but you can only play 2 songs, and then we're going to decide whether or not you can stay on stage." He said that to me. Yeah, like it was the Karate Kid or something. I don't know, like Pinball Wizard.
Well, and anybody that's in their right mind would be like, "All right, well, I'll just not play this at all. Like, I'll see you later."
No, I was like,
that
like, "You're on, motherfucker." And we went and
I knew that's how the story was gonna go. Most normal people at that point, when they're like, "You're gonna play 2 songs and we're totally gonna judge you for it and maybe kick you off the stage and you're gonna be really embarrassed."
Well, so this whole thing,
most normal people would be like, "Bye."
So this whole thing was it was based on crowd participation too. So you had to get the crowd engaged, and then at the end of the night, whoever got the loudest cheer wins. And those were the only rules.
That's a terrible way to judge any sort of contest, because that's a little if they're close, who you get? I mean, it's very likely that a lot of people will clap.
If your establishment can only fit 150 people in it, and then one band brings 70 people, like they're gonna win.
It's a popularity contest, and that's what a lot of Battle of the Bands are. I think popularity contests.
However, I remember it being pretty evenly distributed that night, and we ended up winning. We
nice.
won the band. We won, and the guy was so mad. The guy, he had to give me $1,000 in cash at the end of the night. He had a big thing. That was the winner gets this big thing of cash. It was $1,000. So each guy in my band got $250, which was like, it's like a fucking ice cream sundae back then, man. Woo. $250.
Well, how many songs did you play?
Oh, we played like a set. We played like 7 or 8 songs, and we did have it was good energy throughout. But like the guy, when he gave me that cash, he was so mad. And then he was also this is great. He was he was sort of like started courting my girlfriend while we were there too, and he was like I think he brought her like a appetizer or something. He thought she was real nice looking and like was talking to her a lot, and then he had to he had to watch me pack up my shit while she was standing there with my coat or whatever. I don't know. He was all salty. He's all mad at me. And he was like this big muscle guy, and then I was a little skinny guy making cool music. And we basically were accidentally entered into a cover band battle of the band contest, and we won
As an original band.
Didn't play one
That's
cover
awesome.
the whole night.
Well, that's impressive. You must have turned that crowd. It's hard to go. It's hard.
That's
to
my
go
best
to a
rock
place.
and roll story, Tyler.
That's pretty good. It's pretty good. I've never had anything similar happen. I think it's very original, and you come out like Karate Kid in that one. Like you did the crane kick, right? Where
I crane
when you
kicked
won
him
the
for
thing.
sure. But do you
Yeah.
have any?
I mean, I have stories, but none that good. I don't think. I mean, I think one of the craziest shows I've ever done was the House of Blues with you guys. That was pretty intense. Just everything about it. I mean, there's not like the storytelling element of it. I'm not really sure is that good, but just like I remember it being like an adventure. That was a crazy. And you guys played there a good amount, right? Like you guys. Did
I
a few
I
shows
played there enough so that I wasn't nervous after. Like the last show I played there, I finally was not nervous when I walked out on the stage. But
And then
every
they
single
just-
the first House of Blues show, I was really a wreck because I thought I was on like MTV or some shit. Like I was like, this is it. And it
That's a legit place though. I mean that's
yeah,
like,
and
sweet.
I mean it's probably even now is like my favorite place I've played because of just the way the room sounds. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think I had wide-eyed syndrome most of the time. I don't even remember the first like 3 songs. I'm glad somebody filmed a couple of them so I
Yeah,
can kind of.
yeah, I feel you.
It's like a deer in headlights.
Yeah, the same thing happened to me, and I like. Those are the real for me. Those are like the real regrettable times when I wasn't able to like be fully in the moment and enjoying it because I was just like actually tripping out the whole time.
Just at the experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that always drives me to be more self-conscious, and then I'm not in the moment. I
It's
think, like
yeah,
you're saying,
it's own,
like,
it's a very
it's like-
vicious cycle.
I feel like I have like this like I did a podcast but myself recently, and I was kind of trying to describe it, and I described it as I have like maybe 3 or 4 different layers of things going on in my head, but the last 2 are the observer and the critic. So normally those people aren't there when I'm performing, and I'm more in the moment thinking about the chords and being there and the lyrics and the whatever I'm doing. But then like when you get, because we recently did this thing where we had cameras on us, and anytime there's a camera on us, it's that same kind of feeling. It's like, but even more exaggerated, maybe. But it's like, I have one person just saying like, oh, you could be maybe relaxing a little more. It's going pretty good, And then I have this other person like, oh, you were a little sharp there. You need to maybe calm down. Like I feel like I have 2 different. Well, and then the person that's performing, there's just, and like when you have those critic and observer, that's part of your overall CPU. So a lot of times I feel like I don't perform as good, like in that House of Blues show, because I have those other 2 people in there.
Well, yeah, and I would go through the same exact thing, and then I would see videos of if someone posted it on their Facebook or something, then I'd see a video of myself, and I would literally be watching this video, and I would be like, oh, I can see myself like getting fucked
Right.
up over this shit, and I know for a fact other people who are close to me, maybe not like a fan or something like that. Maybe a fan would see it and they'd be like, "Hey, something was off." Right?
Yeah.
Something was off and I can't figure out what it was, but maybe your cousin was in the audience, and your cousin who's grown up with you since you were 5 or whatever, they could be like, "Ah,
They knew it."
Chris is fucking worried over there."
Yeah. Well, and I think you're almost giving it too much credit. I think most of the people that listen to you, even if they are fans and they've heard you perform a bunch of times, they're not like, as somebody who makes things and performs and stuff, you're critiquing yourself constantly. I don't think most people that are at a show, you know, they might have one general critique like, oh, I don't really like this band, or oh, this bass player isn't for me. But they aren't like criticizing every second. And when you watch that stuff and when you are in the moment of doing it, it's like second by second. You're like criticizing and you're like, oh, that could have been better. That was awesome. That was weird. That was, you know. And then when you watch it, you're like reliving that thought process a little bit. And you're like, oh, I remember that time I was wondering if I was going to say the right words on that next part, but then I did, but I was curious whether I was going to make it. And forcing yourself to relive that by watching the video is always hard. But I think that, you know, most people that watch the video are just like, oh, that was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, but
I don't think
but
they
my
take
thing is like, if that stuff wasn't there, like if those sort of blockades, these mental blockades you're putting in front of your performance, if they weren't there, then you could just like have a really awesome performance.
Yeah, and a good time at the same time.
Yeah, but no, we insist on like thinking. And then I do you experience this? Do you have moments where you're on stage where you're like, oh shit, I'm in it. It's fine. I'm not worried.
Yeah, and those are the best ones.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the ones that like, and a lot of times those aren't the ones that are being filmed or, you know, feel like they aren't the ones that make you feel like it means anything.
Yeah.
They're the shows that are just the shows, you know, the ones that, you know, you're like, oh, I got this House of Blues show coming up and it's going to be, those ones are the ones that I'm always more, but when I'm playing some shitty dive bar in the town over, you know, I will be like, you know, thrilled the whole time and just like in the moment and like, oh, I'm killing, you know, I have like positive thinking a little bit, which is not my strong point, but, yeah, it's, as soon as you assign value to it for some reason, it's weird. It like messes with your head.
Yeah, I just think it's something that we have to like consciously do work on and get over, because just personally, like I don't want to do that. I don't want to see a video of myself and be like, oof, what happened there?
But you kind of have to if you're going to do this. Like, you're going to see videos like that. And it's probably better that you think like that than you're like, even like if you watched it and your show wasn't as good as it maybe you thought it was, if your mind was like, oh, yeah, that was great. You know, it just like went to that instead
like
of
Kenny Powers.
These are the... Yeah, exactly. Where
hey, man, I didn't see anything wrong with that performance. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Right. So if you didn't have that attitude, I don't know though, because ignorance is bliss a little bit. I think it's a competition.
That's the thing, is I think like I've seen it with artists, with people who are just like, I don't want to say dumb, but they have the blinders on to certain things that are coming at them in life, and it makes for good performances, or it makes for good art, because like, I hate to give Kanye West as an example, but like he's a great example of someone who's just like really gonna just stick to their guns and just deliver art how they want to deliver it, and not like really think about any sort of consequence to it.
Yeah, but I don't know. Don't think that if he was like had a little bit of a critic in himself that he would be maybe a little better and like become...
Well, yeah, I said that I hated to give it as an example.
Right. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, no matter who the example is,
he probably is
like,
self-critical.
You think he is as self-critical as you are?
I think maybe not as me, or maybe he's less than me or more than me. I don't know. But like, do you think Kanye West goes home and is like, oh fuck, what did I do? What did I say? I feel like,
I don't know.
I feel like he's more like, I said all that shit and
it was cool and it was fine, and probably didn't even think about it a second time. Maybe like there wasn't like a after I got home moment where you're reflecting on the...
Yeah, see, I feel like the after I got home moment is like my entire existence of how I like said the wrong thing at a party or something. Or even like podcasts, to be honest, scare the shit out of me, because now this is gonna, you know, someone can listen to this forever.
My 8 people that will subscribe or
It's
whatever.
8 people now, but like
now that Mathien's
yeah,
on,
now
it's
that
going to be more
it's
like
gonna be like
108.
14 people, man.
Woo! Yeah, I'll be getting that sponsorship here soon, maybe. No, but yeah, I don't know. It's a fine line, and I think at some point, if you do it long enough, you're gonna get there to that line of, self-doubt and questioning and critiquing, and because in the early days, you're just playing music, you're just making it through the performance. You're like barely getting through. Once you get past that like little part, and like you can play. I feel like once the point I was doing like 4-hour sets all the time, like that was like a level up, and that gave because I could do that no problem eventually. Like it gives your mind extra capacity while you're doing the thing, so then you can reflect on it more in the moment and and other times as well. But when you're first starting, you're playing like a 30-minute set for some talent show or something, you know what I mean? Like you're just like, you get the deer in the headlights and you don't remember even any of it. You're just like, I made it through that. I did that thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. So you think that it would be better to be somebody with blinders up? Or do you think?
Well, I'm personally actually getting better at sort of letting go.
So you've been actively working on that, or?
It's hard to say I'm actively working on it because it's something that it doesn't involve. It doesn't involve adding to it. It involves subtracting, so it doesn't feel like you're doing anything.
But I mean, you've thought about it at length.
I've thought about it to a point where I'm trying to just be more relaxed, and I think that's really the key. Like I'm reading Questlove's book right now, and I've talked to people who've like played shows with the Roots before. And Questlove, man, like my friend, when we played a summer camp, my friend said he went to their stage. When they showed up, he said the Roots were supposed to perform at 2 p.m. and he said at 1:40 they weren't there. And he was like, yo, what the fuck? And he said at 1:50 their tour bus pulled up next to the side of the stage. The Roots got off of the tour bus. They set up their equipment. They played for 45 minutes. And then they put all their shit into the tour bus, and then the tour bus drove off.
Just left.
He said they were in Chillicothe, Illinois for like an hour, and then it was over with. And I'm just trying to imagine, just from reading Questlove's book, I'm imagining his mind state while he's in this scenario. Because if it were me, I'd be like, oh, fuck, dude, the gig's not going to happen. I'd be so scared just like pulling up to a gig and then performing and then leaving right afterwards,
But do you think that's how they were doing a lot of shows? Or they only did that one because it was summer camp?
That's sort of my point is I think that his life was in such a way where it was like, well, one, it probably wouldn't have mattered if that gig would have gotten canceled for him. But also I think that like the whole like, this whole type A trait that I have of getting to the gig, like before you're supposed to be there and setting up and like doing all that shit, like you kind of gotta let a lot of that stuff go if you're gonna be in, doing it the way that he was doing it, I guess.
Well, I think that there's some X factors there though, because. Something that in that story that stood out to me is that you said like the gig didn't really matter if it got canceled.
Yeah.
And that I think that's because there's a lot of people, if I could just show up to a gig and play and leave and didn't have to do every part of it, you know what I mean? Like I don't have to do the sound, I didn't have to do the booking, I didn't have to do the promotion, I didn't have to do the tear down, all that stuff, and I could just show up and play. I mean, wouldn't it be easier to not be a type A?
It would be easier to relax, yeah.
Yeah, you could chill out. You could show up, just play, and get... I mean, that's literally like my goal. My only goal as a musician is to get to a performing... where I'm performing regularly where I don't have to do all the ins and outs and I can focus more on the music. I don't know. Is that,
you just gotta find you just gotta find someone who's more of a psycho about this shit than you are. And then you can become like a rhythm guitarist, and then that's it.
Yeah, but if I want to just be a rhythm guitarist, I mean, I probably wouldn't do it at all. I could just do that in my bedroom, you know.
Right. What we're saying,
I don't know
what we're saying is rhythm guitar is fucking easy.
Not saying that. I'm to be a good rhythm player, maybe a little bit tough sometimes. But I think that it wouldn't be as fulfilling, you know, to be for me.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you on that.
Just a rhythm guitar player. I mean, there's something that innate that just it drives me. I don't know what it is to just keep expressing these, either through a podcast or through, you know, the music or through a performance, or I don't know what it is, but if I wasn't doing that constantly, I don't know what I would do. It would be weird.
Yeah, someone asked me what I would be doing if I didn't do music. I'd be a real sad bartender somewhere, you know, like I don't know. Really don't know.
I've never even thought about it.
I'd be like a social worker or something. I was like upset with where he was in life.
Yeah. But I mean, do you feel truly not upset with your life right now?
Oh, I feel pretty good.
You're in a good spot.
I feel pretty happy. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's awesome. I wish that
How about you?
I don't know. Well, that's what I mean, obviously that's where I was getting to is like there's something like that drives me to try to express myself in so many different ways all the time. And I do that, but I still don't feel like I'm, I don't know, hitting it where I need to be or something. Does that make sense?
It does. It 100% does. I'm trying to...
Because you're saying you'd be a frustrated social worker, but I'm still kind of a frustrated musician. I guess I would be a lot more frustrated if I didn't have the musician part. I'd be even more, but I'm
trying to figure out what I've been doing differently to where I don't feel the same way I used to feel in that regard. And it is a lot of like letting go and relaxing about stuff that you like can't control. That's sort of what it was for me, because there's certain aspects about my career that would seem like I'm not doing as well as I was, maybe to some people, maybe not, but yeah, I'm trying to figure. I wish I could pinpoint exactly what I did to. I think I just stopped. Like I think I just got a little older, and I was just like, oh, that doesn't matter. Maybe whatever I was tripping out about. Not to say that you're tripping out about the same things.
No, I've had that realization on different levels. Yeah. You know, and maybe that's 2 levels away from where I'm at, or 1 level away from where I'm at. But, you know, I want ultimately, I think part of maybe the thing that I mentioned earlier about you can, because you can put a song, you can start a song, write a song, and put it out from start to finish. You have this like mass collective of like music. I feel like I have all this like backlog of stuff I can't ever get out because it costs too much money and I can't figure out how to make it sound right, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So maybe that has something to do with it, because I mean, how many albums do you have?
I really haven't even been thinking about albums lately. I think you know, it's definitely over 10, but I've been more focused on singles because.
Well, I agree with that method for sure. I don't think that people really listen to albums.
Yeah. I did.
But I mean, that's a lot of music. That's like a ton of music.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of got into a mode where I was just going to put out everything that I recorded. And now, since I've been only putting out singles, it's been a lot of track hoarding. So I think I don't want to get into that. You know, I don't want to get into, I've got like 5 albums here. and I'm never gonna put out this music, you know, because I know those artists too.
That just kind of keep recording,
Yeah, they
and
just
don't release
hoard,
anything.
but there's good things about that too, because there's people like Maxwell and you know, like Peter Gabriel and Sade and like these artists who like sort of appear every now and again, and they put out a bunch of music, and then people listen to it, and then they go away for a long time. You don't hear about them unless they're dropping.
Yeah, yeah. I just like.
I wish I could be that
the people-
mysterious person that does that, but
But I don't think that model really works as well as it used to. I think a lot of times when you disappear nowadays, you disappear. Like there's not a lot of bands that. There's a lot of like 5 seconds of fame type things, and then they disappear. Or there's people that'll just be around forever. It doesn't seem like there's too many people that are in the middle. You know.
Aerosmith, dude.
Okay, but
They're gonna be around forever. Do you like?
Yeah, but
do you like Aerosmith?
I like their early
Like,
stuff.
what's your
yeah,
favorite
I mean,
Aerosmith song? Let's talk about this. This is important.
It's not. My knowledge of this is not going to be as in depth of yours, but probably, "Dream On" is obviously a really cool one. I'm saying pretty much that guitar.
Hey, you ever heard the one that goes, "Daddy, little cutie,
Sounds familiar.
That song's awesome.
What's the name of it?
It's called Ragdoll.
Ragdoll. Sweet Emotion obviously is a great song. That might be. No, there's one other one that I tend to go back to. I could play it on the guitar, but I can't
Walk
come
This
up
Way?
with the. Yeah, I mean I like that song. Okay, I don't know, not my favorite by any
Is it
means.
I don't want to close my eyes?
Definitely not that song. Definitely
Do you know
not that
song
song.
was written for Celine Dion?
That makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. That almost makes more sense.
Yeah, it was
that
written for
it would
Celine
be-
Dion, and she passed on it. She's like, "Give this to Aerosmith. This shit is whack." But she could sing it. You could hear her like, "I don't wanna close my eyes." Yeah, she wouldn't have killed it the same way Steven Tyler did, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that it's definitely not even close to probably the top of their repertoire at all. But there is something good about it. There is like, I mean, for a cheesy love song that like, I don't know, it always makes you think Armageddon every time that movie.
What a
right?
great movie! Oh my god.
But I mean, every time I hear it, I go back, and I think if you watch that movie now, you might not have the same opinion. But you might like it almost more for the unintentional comedic value.
I love
'Cause I think there's a
man,
lot-
you know what I do when I need to go to sleep is I turn on a shitty movie. An old comedy from the 80s. Ugh.
Oh yeah, but they're just like good in a whole different way. There's also a bit of nostalgia that you like.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I watched this when I was a kid. That's cool. But then like, you're like, I can't believe that he got away with saying that.
Yeah.
Back then. Like, there's a lot of that.
Yeah,
which
you're
is
like,
pretty
whoa,
funny.
they did a butt fuck joke in Barney. Wow. Okay.
And then there's a lot of like that writing doesn't even make sense. Like no character would ever do that ever. So that there's a lot of unintentional funny parts. Or like there'll be like a bad editing. Do you do edit videos?
Yeah.
So like I feel like ever since I started doing that, it's become a whole different thing when I watch videos. Obviously, so when I'm watching like some of those old 80s movies, you're just like caught off guard by one of the edits. Like, why did they do it that way? Like,
I always catch stuff too. I have an editor, so I'll watch a movie and be like, "Ha he's eating that sandwich, but there were 3 bites taken in the earlier scene, but now there's
2.
only 1 bite."
I think Big D actually just had some sort of thing that Laurelyn, my girlfriend, was telling me that he posted about the Mandalorian, where he caught some weird, not like continuity issue.
Yeah.
Like his arm.
I'll look at stuff like the stuff that's like a period piece, like movies that are supposedly take place in the 80s, I'll like look in the background at the signs on the store windows and stuff like that and be like, oh, they got Wi-Fi? Oh, okay.
Did you watch the Cobra Kai? Did you watch that?
I watched a couple episodes of that, yeah, because I'm a huge
was-
Karate Kid fan.
Well, it was good. I called you Karate Kid earlier. So
I
I'm glad
remember,
that I
dude.
did
I'll
that
never
now.
forget.
Maybe if I save you, I'll save you in my phone as the Karate Kid.
Save me, dude. It's Daniel-san.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just
Right.
watched the one with Hilary Swank.
I never saw that one.
Hey, if you like are ever really missing Mr. Miyagi super hard, you just watch that movie because he's in that movie a lot.
Nice.
It's really
he's
Miyagi
definitely-
centrist, if you ask me.
Well, he was the guy in the movie, so.
Honk. Remember when he honks the
But,
guy's nose?
It's been too long.
All right.
I
Well, we'll
don't.
talk about it next time.
All right. Well, yeah. Speaking of next time, I probably don't want to. It's already been over an hour. I don't want to keep you too long, but great catching up. Great having an excuse to have a real conversation with you.
You can also just like call me on the phone sometime if you want to
Nope.
talk.
Only podcasts. Only content creation. I don't do any other sort of, communicating. I have to.
Hey, so is this
do
gonna
it-
be
do it
is this gonna
publicly.
be raw? Like we're just gonna put this thing up, or are you gonna go through and edit?
I'm more with this one, especially just raw. I think.
Yeah.
I'm already gonna have to edit it because you're gonna send me those WAV files.
True.
So that, but so I mean, I don't know, but mostly it's gonna be. I'm just gonna try to make every time you talk really quiet and every time I talk really loud.
You're gonna put echo on your voice, but I won't get echo.
And-
so you'll sound like a
and then I'm
god.
gonna- Yeah, and then I'm gonna make like your word. I'm gonna spread out the space between your words so you sound maybe a little dumber.
You can also take
And,
stuff out of context and be like, from earlier conversations, you'd be like, we played at this one place and it was really great. The white nationalist who hired us was a nice person.
Yeah, definitely planning on doing that.
Yeah.
because that's definitely how I spend. If I didn't have other stuff to do, it would be fun to maybe do
You just
that.
do a
I
whole
don't know.
Mathien smear campaign, Tyler, if you want to.
That's been my whole plan all along. You just found me out.
Dang.
Yeah, you're about to. No, but I've always appreciated what you do, and I appreciate you letting us be a part of it at one point in time, and I think that everything you do is awesome, pretty much. So I've always been a fan.
Well, those were amazing times, man.
Yeah, good times. I remember just watching you play the guitar, man. You blew my mind that way.
Oh, stop it.
More than just singing songwriter. I come across a lot of those, but you were I felt like you were a real guitar player. I didn't have a lot of those when Blair's good. Don't get me wrong, but you have like a different mind, I think, than a lot of people I'm around in that front, if that makes sense.
Man,
And that's
thank you. That's nice. But I really think that just comes from listening to everything, listening to tons of different kinds of music. And then
It definitely comes across. I was thinking about this earlier before we decided to do this. Is that I feel like your music is like complete fusion, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it pulls from so many different areas of like different genres
Yeah.
and stuff. And there's rap, there's funk, there's rock. There's so many different elements. There's blues. There's kind of easy listening type stuff
Yeah.
sometimes. There's like real jazzy sections, lots of jazzy section. Like there's just a lot of different textures and feels that come, and it's song to song. I feel like you're kind of scattered in the best way on that front. So
yeah, thanks, man. I'm glad that's coming through because it's not really at this point. It's not something I'm trying to do. It's really just a
Just
product
is.
of all this absorption of different styles that I've studied.
Well, I think people get that vibe a lot if they listen to any Mathien at all. I think it's
I'm
they get
ultimately a music fan. I just
Yeah,
really
yeah.
love just turning on records, and I really love Discover Weekly on Spotify.
Maybe that's what I'll. Oh, is that something I don't know? But what is
It's
that one?
like it's like a playlist that's curated just for you based on the creepy algorithm. It knows what you're searching on Google, so it's
All
like,
right, I'll have to check that out.
yeah,
Yeah, that's on what?
Spotify.
What Spotify? I guess I normally do Pandora, which is kind of that same thing. I mean,
Yeah,
that whole thing is
yeah, it's
based on what you'll hit that you like.
I don't know what the experience for if you listen to Mathien on Pandora. I don't know what that's like, but
Um, I heard a lot of like there's a lot of Black Keys, which after the first song "Let His Head" really made a lot of sense that those two would be. I mean the rockness of it, the kind of blues rock feel. There was some like I think some Mraz came up, Jason Mraz, and I mean I think it was like a lot of like really generic associations. I don't think it comes with like I think you have to start liking and disliking things to really dial it in. But just
Jason Mraz.
naturally, I think there was some Pearl Jam, some Pearl Jam came up, which
Uh-huh.
yeah. I mean,
I love
I
Pearl
don't,
Jam, dude.
I'm a fan. I would say I like 7 of their songs really a lot. They're like deep down.
That's a good number, really.
In my
I'm
yeah, but
probably
I mean,
me too.
I can't do the albums. I can't really do the albums. There's a lot of filler I feel in those albums, but there's like some songs that just hit you, and they're just.
And then next thing you know, Eddie Vedder's playing in a ukulele.
Yeah, which some people really like that. I don't know. I don't know what I think about it. It's okay.
Yo, fuck
But,
the
I mean, those
ukulele.
Hey man, ukulele's
I'm just
all right.
kidding.
I don't play it
I was
professionally.
joking. I
but
do. I feel like why am I subconsciously trying to keep this going longer?
I don't know. I'm doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm doing the same thing. I don't know why.
Do we
but,
love each other, dude? Is that what that is?
That's it. That's it. I think.
All right.
Where can people hear your music? I want to definitely
Really,
let them know, and I'll probably go ahead.
Anywhere. However people listen to music, I think they can find me on there. Like
They just type in
SoundCloud.
Mathien.
I really push Spotify. I like Spotify. I'm not, I don't feel like, oh, they're probably screwing us over, but I don't know. It just
You don't think
I look at the analytics of where people are listening to my music, and Spotify
I do that
is my
too.
biggest.
I think that it's interesting that they're not, I don't think as many people or as many platforms do those kind of what's the word you said?
Analytics, yeah.
Analytics. They don't do it. I just went blank.
Diagnostics.
They don't.
That's AutoZone.
Yeah, that's what I was going for, but that doesn't.
That's
make
for
sense.
cars.
Next time I'll know that, right?
No, it's not about that. But it's like, no.
But I feel like they do more analysis and they let the artist see it. I feel like a lot of those other ones, I don't really, like, I don't know what my Apple Music numbers and locations are as easily as I do Spotify.
Yeah.
But the thing I went out a huge Spotify because I don't like to pay for subscriptions of things, I guess. So
Oh no.
I think Spotify is one of those that if you pay for it, it's like awesome, and if you don't, it's not worth using.
No.
And I think that's
Spotify, if you don't pay for it, is trash because it just shuffles.
yeah, and it's like goes straight to like Taylor Swift after I listen to a Mathien song.
Yeah. Next thing you know,
Doesn't
you're
really
listening to
make
Kim
sense.
Kardashian podcast.
But okay, so pretty much just type in Mathien anywhere.
Yeah.
People can find your music.
Oh, you can
Anything
always go to
cool coming up?
Mathien.com because I just updated it. It's pretty solid over there.
Awesome. I'll check that out. Anything else you want to promote or good?
Yeah. I always think about this stuff later.
It's all good. I put you on the spot there. All right. Well, I appreciate you hanging out for a little while. I know it was a long time, but we'll try to do it together.
Felt
Do
good,
it again
man.
sometime, maybe.
I'll send you those files.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to do that. So it won't be a bit.
Yeah, so I'll definitely do that. I'll send them. Don't worry.
All right, man. I'll hopefully talk to you soon. I'll try to keep in touch.
Lovely talking to you.
All right, man. Have a good rest of your day.
Oh, that's it.
See ya. Later.
See ya. Whoa.
Bye.